Hadi, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time.
Hi, Jim.
So the Helvetiq business, I hear, has a very interesting origin story. Would you like to maybe tell us how you came to be in?
Yeah, the publishing house is its creation is a bit accidental in a way because it's a typical story of creating one game and trying to do just that, not trying to create a business. It was a game about Switzerland. It's called Helvetiq. Um, the idea originated from my citizenship procedure in Switzerland. I grew up in Algeria, and I moved to Switzerland for my university studies, and loved living in Switzerland. Had a job and everything, and wanted to become a citizen. And I during the citizenship tests, I met people who were really anxious about succeeding. Also, I noticed that it was really meaningful experience for people. And I thought like, okay, we're missing something to get ready for this test in a fun way that doesn't feel like going back to school. And we also need something to really mark the occasion. And that's how I had the idea to create a game. And I happen to know a game author, that's Sébastien Pochon, based in Vevey in Switzerland. So I drove to his place or took the train and asked him, like, what do you think? And within 5 minutes, we started brainstorming, and we're like, okay, all right, let's do it. I want to do this project, and it had nothing to do with my job. I was working in venture capital, totally different. And I like the project because it's tangible, it's social, and in the end I thought, okay, I would have created something that I can put in my shelf and I can play with people, and that's this red box.
Amazing. So what does the name mean? What does Helvetiq mean?
So Helvetiq is another name for the country.
Right.
It's the Helvetic Confederation.
I see. Okay.
Is the other name for Switzerland, and in Helvetic there is IQ, and it was like a game to boost your Swiss IQ, so you get to know how the political system works, and you get to know more about the culture and more about geography, history, and everything. So I asked Sébastien whether he wanted to design this game. He asked two of his friends. It happens to be Malcolm Braff and Bruno Catala. You probably know Bruno. And so worked with them, and in the end ended up managing the part from prototype to production. Put my savings into producing 3,000 boxes. Received 14 pallets. I had no idea where to put them. I didn't even have a garage. And I'm like, okay. And then as soon as the games arrived, I started calling shops, and they started ordering like 2-3 copies. And I'm like, okay, I might end up with 10 pallets forever to manage. And the funny thing is that within 3 weeks to a month, the media had heard of this really genuine story of citizenship, and really liked it, started telling it, and then people started buying the games like crazy. Oh. And fast forward, we sold almost like 40,000 copies of the game.
Wow.
And that's why I said, it's a bit accidental, because I wasn't trying to create like a publishing house. I just created a game that meant something to me personally. Sure. And after 2 years of managing this hobby project, I'm like, I'm really enjoying spending time with games, and I love books as well. And so I thought like, okay, why not drop what I was doing and like really go into the publishing business like a little more seriously.
That's amazing. So who do you think was buying that game initially? Was it Swiss citizens who just had an interest in their country, or was it people like you who were trying to learn more to get their citizenship?
Yeah, I think it's like, a bestseller at the time in Switzerland for games was like 2,000 boxes a year sold, and we were like at like 10,000. So it was like, clearly we broke the barriers of normal market, and that's because like you had gamers who were buying it, and then you had just like Swiss citizen interested in the topic who liked the story, and then you had people preparing for the citizenship test. I mean, it included a lot of people. Wow. And we were even getting orders from outside of Switzerland. from people who just heard the story. Yeah.
So is it essentially a memory and knowledge game, like a lot of the IQ games you guys have done?
Yeah, there is a quiz that's really focused on learning, not on testing. And then the other part is like really like a management game. It's like a political game where you have 5 citizens interested in going into politics, and then you have voting cards, and then you have to use them properly. You have different ways of winning, different tracks.
Right.
And you play until the government is formed, and then you count victory points. It's a really cool political game. Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of the games that have been developed by you and your company have been because it's something that you're interested in. I mentioned the IQ games earlier, but it seems like that, and this is just a speculation from afar, so tell me if I'm wrong, but it looks like it's just chronologically documenting your life. There's a bit where, okay, I'm drinking a load of beer, so I'm going to do beer IQ. There's a bit where I've now had kids, so I'm now going to do children IQ. There's a bit where is that true? Am I onto something there?
You are totally onto something. Our strategy is not based on market research or on trying to grab market share or anything. Yeah, we think there is something really honest and really interesting in trying to follow what's happening in your life and just turning that into games and interesting things. And the other part is really like, and then you start meeting authors. And then you start doing like publishing in a certain way that attracts authors, and then that's also has inspired us a lot. Just meeting people and also following their ideas as well. So we have the 2 tracks in the end. Yeah.
So what was the first game you did with another publisher, another designer? What was the first one there?
Oh, good question. I think it was. I might be wrong, but because I would really need to have to go back. But I think working with Martin on Bandido and Color Fox.
Uh-huh.
I was living in Copenhagen between 2013 and 15, Denmark. And a friend of mine told me, I know someone from school, like the dad of a friend of my daughter, and all he does the whole day long is just sit at home and invent games. And I'm like, oh, put us in touch.
Yeah.
And so that's Martin Nedergaard Andersen. And so we got in touch. I visited him at home. We sat down, a very hygge moment, drinking tea and playing his games. And then in the end, I ended up finding Bandido, Color Fox, and others. So I think that was the start of working with outside authors.
Amazing. And Bandido has been, I guess, a bit of a breakthrough game for you guys because it's just so accessible. It works for children. It works for families. It's obviously the small box format that you're famous for. So it's portable and just such a brilliant, fun game. That was the first game of yours that I played. I think someone recommended it to me in a board game cafe a few years ago. And I sort of looked at this little box and what fun can I have in this small box? Got it out. And I think we played it about 10 times.
Wow.
We lost 9 in a row. And I was like, we're not stopping.
Yeah. It's I have to say, Bandido is really deciding to publish Bandido was really based on intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played this game, and for some reason, I think it's like on the spot I said, okay, this is okay. If we want it. We want to publish it. Okay. It's also because at the time my daughters were at an age where I really needed a game that is not about speed, that is like turn-based, that is really easy to explain. So I thought, okay, this is an amazing game for kids, and it's a co-op and etc. etc. And it's and then as soon as we started testing, then I realized, oh, and it's also mega hard to win. Yeah. So it's challenging. And then we found a nice theme. The theme is also a funny story. At the time of working on Bandido, there was this story about El Chapo who escaped from prison.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know the story.
I do, yeah.
And we're like, okay, it's not really like a kid's theme, but how about just Bandido? We didn't dare call it El Chapo. And yeah, it's like... But the funny thing is that I carried the prototype in my bag for a year, thinking that, I'll get to it. It's gonna be simple to publish it. So it's like to tell you today, yeah, I knew we were gonna sell 200,000 copies. Was like would not be correct. It's just like I was like, because you know we love all our games, but you never know which one really is gonna find the public, and this one, a bit like our Helvetiq game, I think it pleases different kind of publics, and that's why it's like it's been so successful.
Sure. So the small box games that Bandido is a part of, that is a large part of your range now, isn't it? And it's those boxes are so synonymous with your business. You don't really see that size of box for anything else.
Yeah,
Is that a deliberate thing to have something that's just so iconically you up on the shelf when you go into a game store or a cafe?
yeah. Again, it's not. Honestly, I wish I could tell you it was by design. Just like Bandido was this, I mean, the size of the box that Martin gave us was pretty much this. And we're like, and also maybe because I personally moved a lot, I didn't really like boxes that are just big with just a deck of cards inside. So I'm like, okay, if that's what is inside, it needs to be small, you know?
Sure.
And then and also for creativity, it's really interesting to give yourself like a constraint, and you say, okay, we want like it's sometimes hard to fit a game with more than cards in it, but we try as much as possible. We did it with the Matchbox collection as well, so where you have sticks and cards, and all of a sudden you unleash like an amazing creativity in the team, and also with authors to say, okay, this is what we're looking for. It makes it mega clear to understand. And the way we define the pocket games now is that like they're your perfect games to go.
Hmm.
You carry them easily in your pocket. I mean, it's like some people take even two or three. Even hikers, travelers around the world, we get feedback. It's really nice when we get it. And they are your typical like cross-generational game, so you can play with kids because the rules are so easy. There are not too many rules. But then these are not the kind of games where you need to let the kids win, because they are fair, and you're not at an advantage. And yeah, it just like and it's also fun to create for this collection.
Yeah, I'd agree. We've had a lot of fun playing the games with our children. My 5-year-old daughter and my 7-year-old son have loved them all. And you're right. They're both playing the games within a minute most of the time. Like, it's really simple explanation, but they still feel challenging enough for me to enjoy the experience as much as I know they are. And win, lose, whoever it is, everyone has a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was with Bandido, obviously during COVID, it's been a tough time for everyone around the world. You guys took the decision to release a specific COVID free print and play version of that. How did that come about? What was the thinking there?
Okay, the thinking, actually, it started with my daughter, Maisa. She's 10. She drew a card of Bandido with the virus inside. I still have this image. I can send it to you. And as soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh my God, this is and then she said, you could have the virus and you can, lock it down. And as we were all like working at remotely, I also missed like working with the team, running into each other, sharing ideas, and that was like our common project. So we got together as a team, and Chloe worked on refining the rules of Bandido. Odile worked on the design. We adapted the rules, so it was like a perfect like collaborative project at a distance. And we published it as a print and play for free. We also thought like it teaches kids and families the proper behavior in COVID time. And so we liked all these aspects. And as soon as we posted it, like within 2 hours, we received images of people playing in Chile, Bermuda, Japan. It was like, this is the beauty of tabletop gaming. It's like, it's so global. It's just like amazing. It spreads so fast. People like the idea of printing and playing, and so yeah, we are really proud of that.
That's amazing. And all started from your 10-year-old daughter's idea. That's so
absolutely,
cool.
Yeah.
Wow, you need to sign her up before she goes working for someone else.
Yeah. She's like a 50-year contract.
Yeah, exactly. She's come home and said, Dad, I'm off to Ravensburg. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So talking about games that are made because they're parts of your life at that particular point, is it fair to say that this game here, Team Up, is similar? Because the mechanic of it, there's a pallet and we need to put on this pallet as many boxes as possible in the most efficient way, it seems to ring true to your life a little bit. Is this game inspired by your home office being filled with your own games?
Good question. Actually, no. The starting point for that game was a request by a logistics company. Okay, so they wanted a game, and this is a company we really liked because they had done some really unusual things for us. Because one day we wanted to organize an event, and needed like a container, and they just drove their truck to the middle of the city and put the container there. And I mean, they've done some exceptional things for us without asking too much money. And so when they came asking for a game, we're like, yeah, okay, we'll think of something for you. And this palette, the mini palette, is something that I had on my desk, like sitting on my desk for 2 years. To put my coffee cup on, and like one day
like a promotional thing from them.
No. It was something like a design object I bought.
Right.
Or maybe someone gave it to me it's like it was our accountant, Magali. She's still working for us. She gave me the pallets, like 4 of them, as a Christmas gift. And so I had this mini pallet. It's 1/10 of a pallet sitting on the desk because she knows we deal with pallets, we ship games and all that. She's like, okay, that's like the perfect Christmas gift for you. And I was like, oh, thank you so much, you're lovely.
What do you use it for? Like a coffee cup holder or something?
Okay. And so I'm like, but this is like, I mean, in game design, you always sometimes, you think you look at objects and you just gather them and you put them on your desk and you just as a, to kickstart your creativity on something. And so that was the palette. And so when they came asking, I remember during the meeting I started sketching. It was like, connected the dots. It's like, oh, that palette that's on my desk. That's why it was on my desk for the last 2 years. And started, and then worked with Sébastien again. If you remember, he co-designed Helvetiq, the game. And we thought about different ideas, and in the end we created this cooperative puzzle. In the end, it's like you can play it alone, but you can also play it with people, and it feels like you're in the same company and you're putting boxes on top of a pallet. Of course, it reminded me in a way of moving. For instance, when we moved our family from Boston to Copenhagen, I remember we had 16 boxes on a pallet, numbered 1 to 16 of different shapes. And if you use 1 pallet or 2, it's better than 4. So yeah, it totally rings a bell. Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. I have to say, I love and hate this game in equal measure. I love it because it is so fun, but I hate it because in it, the rules say there is a way, if you do the cards in this specific order, you can do it perfectly. And I've tried that so many times and I can't do it. And it's driving me crazy, but it's so fun to try. It's a brilliant solo experience. I've played it a lot with my son co-op and we really enjoy it. But every time I get a chance for sort of a 5-10 minute break, it's such a good sort of like take your mind off your work or whatever it is you're doing. And I go and I try and beat the puzzle and I can't do it. So I've got to ask you, is it possible? Are you winding me up? Can it be done?
It is possible, and we can send you the solution.
No, I mean, I've seen that it says go here for the solution online. I'm like, no, I'm not looking. I'm not cheating.
Yeah, no, but it actually there's more than one solution.
Really?
The funny story is that when we developed the game, a friend of mine who's a coder asked me, "Oh, I'm really interested in coding something like an algorithm that finds the solution." And it was like he didn't have a lot of time, so he just coded something like brute force, like look for the solution until you find it. And actually, Sebastian's daughter found the solution before the algorithm.
No way.
Yeah. So and one day, like Sebastian's like texts me, sends me all these photos, like 1 to 27. And it was like perfect solution. It was like, oh my God, it's there.
That's amazing.
And since publishing the game, we received like 3 other perfect solutions.
Right. So
Yeah.
hang on. You made the game with the blocks in the shapes and the colors that they are here, and the solution was found after that.
The solution was found before publishing, yeah, but with the prototype.
But with the blocks already in this shape and stuff.
Yeah, already, yeah.
That's amazing. So it could have been that there was no solution, but it turns out that there are multiple solutions.
Yeah, it could have been, yeah. I mean, it was a breakthrough moment for us when we found the solution. We thought it existed, but like we didn't have it right away. And it was really like a breakthrough to say, oh my God, this like really completes the game. There is a perfect solution, and we have it, yeah.
Just to be clear for anyone watching, you absolutely don't need to have the solution. You don't need a perfect game to enjoy the game. I've played this game 30 times probably and never found the solution, as I've said. So you don't need the solution to enjoy the game. But that's fascinating.
Yeah, because the scoring works. So there are some constraints that you need to respect when you put the pieces. And then we tell you, like, if you are about 15 points out of 25, you're already very good.
Yeah.
And the perfect solution is 25, 5 points per complete layer.
Yeah. It's such a clever game. It's the long thin bits, the tall verticals. They're the ones that always throw me. If you don't get them in early, then you're gonna obviously struggle. But it's a great game. I really enjoy it. So Hadi, I've got to ask, what's next? What's in the pipeline for you guys? What games are you working on?
So we're working on these new. I mean, you know our games to go. We created like games for after dinner. So these are games that are with more adults theme. So you see less animals than on the Kariba, for instance, and they're I wouldn't say brain burner, but a little more. There's a little more depth to them. Even though the rules are very simple, you can learn or teach the game really fast. So the first one is Omerta, and we are the second one is Captain Bluff. It's a game of bluffing based on a true story of a disgruntled airport employee that was sending luggage to to wrong locations.
Right.
In Captain Bluff, you're playing an airport employee who's getting rid of of luggage. The first one to get rid of all the cards wins the game. And then Compromat. This is coming soon for Essen this year. And this is a 2-player game where there is like you know what a compromat is, right? It's like a technique used by some secret spy agencies to, spread damaging information on famous people.
Yeah.
And so in this game, you play a role of a secret agent. One is trying to propagate the information and the other one is trying to stop it. And so you're competing to win missions and tools without getting discovered.
Right. That sounds fun.
So it's a really exciting 2-player game. I played a lot of 2-player games, especially one by Rainer Knizia when I traveled backpacking in Asia a long time ago. And so when this came, when I played it the first time around, I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. So I had the similar feeling that I had with Bandido. It's like, okay, almost a decision on the spot that we wanted to publish this game.
Brilliant. So what design is that from?
That is by Adam Porter and Rob Fisher. And the design is by my colleague here at Helvetiq, Felix Kindelan.
Great. And you're launching that Essen this October, right?
Right.
Fantastic. Yeah. Oh, how exciting. So people can come along to your digital stand and purchase a copy.
Yeah, actually the game is already on Tabletopia.
Okay.
You can go and play it. I mean, I don't know if you know Tabletopia. I mean, the experience is good enough, and all the design is final. I mean, the art is final. You can have a lot of fun playing it too. I mean, we're gonna miss Essen because I mean it's so cool to meet everyone from around the world, demo the games and all that. But we are gonna find a way to share our excitement about these games.
For sure. Good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a shame about Essen. I think I had probably one of the best times of my life at Essen last year, which sounds ridiculous,
Yeah.
I know, but I took my wife and my two children. My wife grew up near there, so it was like a real sort of return to home for her, and it was just so good. And I just said to myself, I'm going to be at this thing every single year until the day I die. And then year two for me,
Yeah.
it's over. It's so frustrating, but I'm sure it's much worse for people like you who want to get your games out to the market. But I think what we've all learned during this experience is that things like this, we can talk and connect online. So hopefully
Right.
it still drives you some good awareness of the game. Hadi, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing what comes out from you over the next few months. And I've really enjoyed playing these games. So I hope people enjoy the feature on our favorite. It's wonderful to have learned your story today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Jim.